Stephen Curry is arguably the most mild-mannered superstar in the NBA, but that doesn't mean that he's a pushover. He's the type of player who will try to fight back not by talking trash or throwing punches. Instead, he's going to let his game do the talking. And here are some of the examples why you should never trash talk Stephen Curry. 1. Kevin Porter Jr. tries to get in Curry's head. He's one of the most forgettable players in the league today because Kevin Porter Jr. missed a season in the league due to legal problems. He did return to the NBA after a year of playing overseas, but he wasn't the most well-mannered player in the league even before his legal problems. Porter Jr. is a very talented passer and a good scorer in his own right, but he's not the smartest player. That's when he made the mistake of trying to get under Stephen Curry's skin. In a game between the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors a few years back, Curry drew a foul on Porter Jr., prompting the younger guard to continue staring Curry down, believing he was getting all the calls because he's a superstar. At that point, Curry had 14 points, but he needed to put KPJ in his place. After that, Curry exploded on the Rockets, putting on a masterclass in the fourth quarter. He was owning Houston in the final quarter, hitting three-pointers over everyone. But Kevin Porter Jr. wasn't done trying to get into the head of the greatest shooter of all time. Over at the other end, he hit a pull-up three-pointer on Steph's head and proceeded to trash-talk the superstar while making his way down the court.
14 in the quarter, KPJ is three all the way!
Curry scored 7 points in the next few minutes to ice the game for the Warriors. In fact, he scored 26 points in the last 16 minutes of the game, specifically after KPJ tried to get into his head. Well, now you know why no one wanted Porter Jr. in the league for one whole season, and why he's been struggling to find a team willing to take in his immaturity and low IQ. 2. Patrick Beverly never learns his lesson. Patrick Beverly fancies himself as a dog in the NBA because he thrives under pressure and loves getting under the skin of opposing players. He's one of the best defensive guards of the modern era, even if he isn't the most capable point guard on the offensive end. But he specializes in figuratively and literally pushing the opposing team's best guards. Just ask Chris Paul. But while he can be a pest on the defensive end, there was never a time when he was a problem for Curry. That may have offended Pat Bev, as he often loses his cool when guarding Steph. In a game between the Warriors and the Clippers in 2018, Curry got an offensive rebound and fouled and flexed on Pat Bev.
Those are good shooting. Rebko missing that three. Remember I said there's no size inside? Steph Curry.
There was a stoppage in the play, but Beverly tried to take the ball away from Curry during the dead ball situation as he talked trash to the greatest shooter of all time. Throughout that time, Steph was just smiling while Pat Bev was barking like a rabid dog. Curry proceeded to destroy the Clippers. He was hitting baskets after baskets, and most of them came in the fourth quarter when he was unbelievably clutch. Steph was hitting the most important shots of that game, eventually finishing with 42 points. But the biggest shot of the game came in the final seconds when he drove to the basket and hit a layup with half a second remaining to give the Warriors the lead. Pat Bev shouldn't have fired Curry up with that early altercation, but he's never going to admit that. 3. John Wall calls Curry a flopper. There was a time when John Wall was one of the best point guards in the NBA. He was the fastest player in the league and was electric as a finisher and passer. It's just unfortunate that injuries slowed him down and prematurely ended his career. Now, he's still trying to make an NBA return, even though it looks like he's unlikely going to see another minute in the league. But during his prime, he was actually so good that he could dominate some of the best point guards in the league, including Stephen Curry. In one game between the Washington Wizards and the Golden State Warriors several years ago, Wall was posting Curry down low and pushing him around. However, he got called for a foul after Curry fell to the floor. And as Wall was making his way down the court, he looked at Curry and told him to stop flopping.
Got to get better on defense, and they brought in Scotty Brooks, who took OKC to the finals in 2012.
In the same game, Curry humiliated John Wall near the end of the third quarter. Steph let the ball roll up the court to go for a 2-for-1. Wall, seeing what was happening, dove to the floor to steal the ball. But Curry was quick enough to grab the ball as Wall was falling down to the floor. In a split second, Steph dribbled into the open three-point shot while Wall was still on the floor as he humiliated the opposing point guard for calling him a flopper. Not even Steve Kerr could believe what his player just did. 4. Chris Paul tried playing mind games with Stephen Curry. The Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets were rivals during the latter half of the 2010s. In fact, many people believed that the Rockets should have beaten the Warriors in the 2018 West Finals had Chris Paul been healthy. In 2019, however, they met in the second round. This time, there were no excuses because the Rockets were healthy. However, the Rockets were facing elimination in Game 6 as the Warriors were up 3-2.
Curry with Tucker right with him. Curry launches a three. Puts it in again! Steph Curry from downtown!
Eventually, Paul learned that he needed to gain every advantage possible against Curry. So, when the Rockets went back home for Game 6, he decided to get into the arena a lot earlier than Curry usually does. So, by the time Steph got there, CP3 was already warming up and shooting shots. Curry tried splitting the court with Paul, only for the Rockets guard to kick him off the floor, unwilling to allow him to get a few shots up and warm up. At first, the strategy worked because Stephen Curry was actually scoreless in the first half of Game 6. It was clear that he was a bit too cold to become a factor in that game, but Steph probably remembered what CP3 did to him earlier that night, so when he needed to turn the heat up, he made sure the Rockets felt his wrath.
Right now, Curry launches a three-pointer, puts it in! Steph Curry from downtown!
Steph destroyed the Houston Rockets in the second half of Game 6, scoring 33 points. So, while it seemed like Paul's strategy worked, it backfired on him because he was now facing an angry and hot Curry who used the first half to warm up. Simply put, Paul merely delayed the inevitable as Curry went on to almost single-handedly beat the Rockets in the second half to help his team qualify for the Western Conference Finals. So, while Paul thought he was slick for taking an entire arena for himself before the game, he went home that night as Curry ensured that CP3 would be shooting in a gym all for himself. 5. Not even the referees are safe from Curry's wrath. In a game against the Los Angeles Clippers in 2021, Curry and the Warriors were in the middle of a heated and physical battle that got Steph's emotions elevated. Remember that this guy tends to stay relaxed on the court and doesn't show a lot of negative emotions. However, things got heated when he didn't get the call he rightfully deserved. During a fast break opportunity, the Warriors had the numbers against the Clippers. Curry went up for a layup and obviously got fouled by the defender. However, instead of calling a foul, the ref called for an out-of-bounds violation, infuriating the greatest shooter in the world. Curry was visibly upset that he didn't get the call, even though any other star in the world would have gotten 2 free throws in the play. The ref wasn't going to let Curry talk to him like that, quickly handing out a technical foul.
Gives it to him, bump going up, loses the ball. Curry, a T coming up all the way.
But that only angered the superstar shooter. Curry proceeded to demolish the LA Clippers with his outside shooting. He strung together consecutive three-pointers as he went nuclear on his opponent because the referee didn't give him a foul. And after a dagger three-pointer, he mocked the referee by motioning the technical foul sign, basically saying that getting the technical foul angered him. So at this point, referees are probably careful about giving Curry a technical foul if they don't want him going ballistic on them. 6. Curry takes revenge on Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks is an agitator. He's not an elite athlete or a knockdown shooter, but he's on the floor because he's a good defender and knows how to get into the heads of his opponents. He likes talking trash, and his defense is so physical that it's borderline dirty, especially during his Memphis Grizzlies days. He was especially noisy when he was with the Grizzlies, talking trash to star players as if he himself was a star. So, during his hide in Memphis, he tried getting into Curry's head a couple of times, only for the superstar to dismiss him because we know Curry won't ever stoop down to Brooks' level. But instead of talking trash back to Brooks, he made him pay by putting him on skates and a series of filthy moves that made him look like he was a cone on defense.
Oh, he crossed him over, let Brooks fly by.
A few crossovers allowed Curry to get Brooks off of him. Then, when Brooks tried to recover to contest Curry's shot, Steph humiliated him again by doing a pump fake that sent Brooks flying. Of course, with no one in front of him, he drained a three-pointer before going nuts with his reaction. Classic Steph Curry.